And welcome everybody to another Marketing Momentum with Charles and Deborah. Hi, Charles.
Hi, Deb. Hi, everybody.
And I'm dying to ask, I should have asked you this before we went live, but so you just got back. See, I'm springing this on you, although you
Oh, yeah.
probably you know me well enough, you know this was coming, but you just got back from LA. Was that was last week, right?
Yeah, yep, last week.
And I'm dying to know what you thought of my wonderful, like I claim it. I claim Los Angeles. So what'd you think of you and your wife? What'd you think of Los Angeles? That's a really broad.
Oh, yeah, no, yeah, the one impression that was left on me, I mean, I was in Uber twice, and the traffic made an impression on me. I mean, just getting from, I guess it's Hawthorne, uh, California to LAX. I mean, I think we must have gone 5 miles, but it took a long time to get there. And it seemed like we're just going along fine, and then all of a sudden we were in the parking lot.
Mm-hmm. You can get out and have like have a tea party or something.
I
Or
know, yeah, yeah, but no, that I mean, that left an impression on me. So, um, I really did not, and I was glad I did. I had decided that, we were not gonna rent a car, and Laurel kind of felt like, well, man, maybe we shouldn't. So we said, okay, we're not gonna rent a car, and so we just did Uber because we only had to use it twice, and I'm glad I did because if I needed to take that car back to the airport and return it and then get off and catch my plane, I might have been late.
I can see that. I don't mean to laugh at you. I'm not laughing at you, or as my husband always
Oh
says, I'm
yeah,
laughing
no,
with you. But
you're from there.
as far as the traffic, but it's like, oh yeah. I mean, we're so used to this horrible traffic. Although it's nice when I was going out to Palm Springs when everyone else is going the other way, and it's like, oh wow. I mean, you see the sun, the desert. Believe it or not, the desert's wonderful to look at when there's no traffic.
Yeah.
But yeah, the downtown, especially at 405. I mean, that is. I think I've mentioned it. I've should I say this live? But I think I have said it before in Marketing Momentum. I'd change clothes on on the 405.
Oh yeah. No,
Okay, discreetly. You have dressed, well, okay, way too much
you got
information, but
time. You got nothing but time on there.
exactly.
Yeah.
But with Thanksgiving coming up, for anyone that's going to be in LA, do not travel on the Wednesday before Thanksgiving. That is I think I actually had a medical issue because it took like 8 hours to go what would normally take 1 hour. And I ran out of that way too much information to have on Marketing Momentum. But I mean, it can really affect you as far as you're not expecting maybe some delays, but
Hmm.
8 hours when it should be an hour. Yeah. Don't travel on Wednesday before. It's the absolute worst travel day in Los Angeles.
Well, I was really thankful, and I'm guessing, and I didn't ask her, um, but the person who did the conference, well, she decided to have it at a hotel near the airport. Now, I'm guessing maybe that had something to do with it because we didn't have to travel far from the airport to get to the actual hotel, and we didn't have to go into Los Angeles. And to this day, I think it would have been a totally different conference if we had to drive further.
Oh, it definitely. Although, I mean, some of the, my favorite locations, I think I mentioned to you, like Santa Monica, the beach communities, although you don't want to necessarily go to the conference then because you want to go hang out on the beach. And that's
Yeah,
kind of tough. But
exactly.
it's kind of surprising too because some of or at least years ago, okay, years is like 2 decades, the more unsafe areas were by the airport. But the airport is really, LAX, it's like it's become brighter and, all the colored lights and
Mhm.
it's like become a whole amusement park in and of itself in the last 2 decades compared to what it was. Now I'm really, really dating myself as far as going back to the 80s or something.
Yeah, yeah, but yeah, I enjoyed, the conference, and we talk about it another time. But yeah, L.A. We'll see.
I don't know. I think I told the last thing, and then I'll leave you alone about LA on that one. And I definitely want to hear about the conference, but I think that's enough for like 2 weeks on Marketing Momentum or something at least. Um, I think I told you when I first went out to LA from Minnesota. I grew up in Minnesota. Went out there to visit, and everyone's like, "Oh no, you just love LA, don't you just love California?" And it's like, no. I mean, it wasn't that I didn't love it. It's like, will you get out of my face and quit asking me
Oh yeah,
if I love this place? And then by osmosis, it was 3 years later. It's like I absolutely this is home. I love this place. And I don't
Yeah.
know where that transition happened, but initially it was like, will you quit asking me if I love LA? So Charles, I'll quit asking you if you if you love LA. I'll give you that 3 years for osmosis.
I guess you're, yeah.
I got that one. So today's topic, yes, eventually, by the end of market momentum, we'll actually get to the topic. I'm trying to figure out how to. I should have thought of a generic term for this before we started. That would have been a wise, preparation tip. But Charles, you know the term I normally reference, and it might slip out, but I'm trying not to because I don't want to have any branding issue or reference. Although if I do mention it, it's a favorable reference. But let's say the high investment strategy. Can we call it that one?
Yeah.
There's two approaches that I've been comparing for, I feel like, for all of my adult life, as far as and one is, and I'm going to throw it out there because I think people can relate to this, as far as the Walmart approach. I'll come back to that, but I'm calling it the dollar store because I think that's more general. But the
Mm.
idea is you sell a lot at 50 cents, pack of gum, whatever. So you're going for the quantity but lower priced items
Yep.
versus the high investment approach, which is, in this particular example I'm thinking of, the clients had to have $20 million before they were even allowed to walk into the office. Well,
Mhm.
with that, personally, I could do, I could handle just one client and we could live happily ever
Right. Yeah.
after, and that's fine. But I thought at one point, there's so much work involved in the dollar store method that maybe you should be looking at the high investment. But now I'm starting to wonder, is there like a balance? I mean, does it one or the other, or should there be sort of a balance? Like, do you aim for the high investment, but then don't say no to the dollar store approach?
Yeah. I guess, it really does at this point, whether I think it's information or even if it's something physical, it does really matter that you have, first of all, you're getting the right person to buy that first product, even if it is a low dollar amount. Like, it still have to be, you still sort of want to have the right person buy it. And I'm not even talking about, because they're going to refund. I'm saying, if they want that thing, and you have an idea and you can kind of project out, okay, well, if they like this, I think they'll like these other things. And I guess what I'm trying to do at that point is, you want to step them up, right? And so the funnel is going to be everything, because when they make the first purchase, then, and I call it like a vertical funnel, like everything happening on at one point in time. So in other words, they make the first purchase, then one step up the vertical funnel, then you got to kind of show them something that's going to be a little more high priced, and then you might even step them up and then show them something that is even at another level. But if you get the first buy, if you get the first buyer right, if you've identified the right person and they're buying because they really do want that thing, then you should be able to, if you know your customers base well, be able to step them up so that the low dollar amount can end up being the high dollar amount.
That makes sense. In fact, as I'm listening to you, Charles, I'm almost thinking that, instead of looking at these two approaches as something separate, it sounds like you're building a relationship. You're getting to know, I mean, obviously targeting your audience, but you're getting to know them and what they want and maybe what to produce for them. It sounds more like relationship marketing than it does dollar store or high investment.
Yeah, and so you, the hard part, I think, isn't getting customers to purchase at episodes, right? I mean, at some point, if you have enough episodes, then you'll get customers to buy one time, or even to get them to buy at a point in time, up the vertical ladder. The difficulty is, so how can I project what this person's growth and development is going to be? And so if I'm trying to move them up their development ladder, then I can ask them for more. So let's say it's not even information. Let's say it's, they buy, I don't know, they buy magnesium tablets, right? Well, okay. So what would they need that for? What's the
That's what
next?
it's
Yeah. Okay. So maybe they're trying to deal with inflammation, and so if they get this, so what would they need after that if they did well with that? So if they continue to get these magnesium tablets, what's the next step up? What are they going to be looking at next? They're going to be looking at information. They're going to be looking at a treatment. They're going to be looking at some kind of thing to put on their head. Who knows? That's the more difficult problem, because you can always come back to that person. And I think this is sort of like, it's like the classic problem. The person bought magnesium, let's say, so now I'm going to get them to buy vitamin D, and I might get them to buy more magnesium. Okay, well, that's great, and I think you make sales. But where the leverage comes in is what can I predict? What's the next step up for that person, right? Not the next step over, but the next step up. If I can figure out the next step up, I can ask more for that, because they value that more. They're going to be able to pay more, and my margins will be higher.
So if you think of it like parents versus sibling, maybe that's not a good a good thing to do. The holidays coming, okay, not. But if you're talking about like going the next step up versus over, if you're talking about magnesium, vitamin D, it'd be like vitamin C, whatever. But you want to look at something. How can we increase this? Like, for example, maybe a membership. Maybe there's some kind of we send you fruits and vegetables. I don't know if you can actually send that, but
Yeah,
fruits and
no, no, no,
vegetables
but
and
that's right.
vitamins and how to, or a video or health something. And now they're paying $100 membership per month, and you've increased your bottom, or not, you've increased your profit anyway.
Well, no, right, and that's what people who are doing, I think, whether it's information or anything, that's what you're really trying to do, I think, when you're at an advanced level. You know the people well. You sort of know what they're trying to do, and that's where the relationship matters, right? Because again, you can build the relationship just based on having them take the next step over, or getting more of the same, right? So you kind of continue to kind of drip to them. You can talk to them, and you can continue to do it. But again, I think the harder part, and the more advanced part, that I think the industry is kind of mature to this point, where there are people who know how to do this well. And it's not easy. I'm not even saying I even know how to do it. It's how can I figure out what that next step in that person's development is? What are they aspiring to do? And if I can figure out what they're aspiring to do, then I'm going to put something at that point, at the higher point. I'm going to say, you can either get this now, or when you get to that point, you can get it. But I got to start putting it in that person's mind at this point, that, hey, this is going to be available to you. You need to start thinking about this. Yeah, this is $297, and you may not be able to afford this now, but I get it into your brain that this is your next step up. And so if it's done right, and I mean, we've probably are all experienced this, where when somebody does it right, that's all you can think about. It,
I had
it,
that.
right. I mean, you're
Spend,
thinking,
spend,
man,
spend.
it's like, okay, well, no, it's $5,000. What am I going to tell my wife? But you're still thinking about
Exactly. It's like, how can I? Okay, well, I made 4,997, so now I don't have to say anything to Mike. No, I'm just gonna. It's like kind of went in, went out,
it.
whatever on that one. Although, I've seen some people really effective strategy. And I don't know if this works for our audience or listeners, but like you said, somebody gets that that $197 or $297 item in our heads, and I've had that where it's like it's on one of my tabs in Safari. Yes, I'm using Mac. I'm using Safari. It's also in Chrome. It's also in Firefox. Where it's like I have to have this, and there's like 3 options at the bottom, and I just have to have the one on the right. That's of course
Right.
the most expensive. And then all of a sudden I get an email where it's like 50% off. And it's like, oh yeah, I'm doing it now, because now the $300 one is 150, and it's like before that 150 sounded like something I had to tell Mike about, but all of a sudden, hey, it's 50%. I'm just kidding, guys. I don't keep those secrets from my husband. I do tell him on that one. He's got access to the bank account, but no, but I mean, a lot of us are accountable to other people as well. So it's not just our decision, spur of the moment, unless we're independently. That's the word I'm looking for. Wealthy, have no relationships, no life, and wait, why are we, why, then we're not working, then we're not marketing, then we're not, we're just over on the beach, just, we're in 405 traffic for 8 hours. Anyway, but yeah, those sales, that really works. So 50% off, then I'm ready to buy it within 5 minutes.
Yeah, and I mean, the thing is, it is going to kind of come back to, I think today is, how much is a person invested in the time in between the sale? How much is the time gonna? How much am I got time am I gonna invest before the sale in talking to these people, right? And I know a lot of people do it on social media. I'm still not sold on social media totally by itself. I know some people do extremely well. They don't do anything but social media. I'm still not quite convinced that you can just do that alone. But regardless of how somebody does it, you sort of got to have this sort of ongoing rapport. And even in the noisiest age I think we're in, somehow or another, if we can kind of get the person to kind of look forward to us once a week, twice a week, so that if I'm not saying anything, yeah, ideally you want someone to say, hey, well, where have you been, but again, that's hard, right? That's hard because there's so much noise. I mean, you open up your inbox, there are 10,000 emails in there. And so if you can somehow crack somebody's brain to the point where you're missed, then I think regardless of what the offer is, whether it's low dollar amount or high dollar amount, then eventually you'll know that person well enough to have something at every step along the way up their development ladder so that they buy something.
Exactly, exactly. I feel like you've been listening or watching the same videos. Last few days I've been watching Kristen Joy. She's the
Uh-oh.
oh my goodness, is it the ultimate book ninja? Oh my goodness, Kristen, don't slap me. It's book ninja. It's like I can't remember, but it's something to do with book ninja. Kristen Joy. She used to be Kristen Eckstein. And
Okay.
I don't know if I'm pronouncing her last name correctly, but she remarried, and I think she's going by her first name and middle name. That's way too much information. But anyway, if someone's Googling her, but I was listening to her videos. She rambles about like I I do here, but she was talking about what you just mentioned as far as being missed, and she said that you get to a point where you're consistent enough on social media. I think she was gone and forgot to say something to people that, hey, I'm on vacation for 5 days. She started getting phone calls, texts. It's like, are you okay? Are you alive? Are you? So, because she hadn't posted, and it's like, wow, okay, that's a good point to be where you actually developed enough of a relationship with your, let's say your comrades, your clientele, your
Yeah.
your tribe, that they actually miss you.
Yeah. I mean, it takes a lot of first of all, I mean, we're at this point where, as information, right, marketers, we have to be in production mode to some degree, right? And I'm not even talking about the marketing. I mean, you have to produce the stuff that you're going to sell, and then you have to market it. And marketing is just not, it's not all advertising. It's not all pushing, like you said. Some of it's engagement on social media, and if you can do both, I think you can come to the point where, I mean, you can be missed. But I know that there are people who do one and not the other, and I don't know if one and not the other is enough. I think like you're saying, right? It has to be both. It has to be the production where there's something to buy, something that people can kind of put their hands on, and there's also the engagement.
And sometimes it's what you produce as far as I may not do everything I don't do everything that anyone suggests, but I mean, but Kristen has this way of coming up with really unique. And by the way, Kristen's not paying me to say anything about her. I'm not being paid to advertise Kristen. I just literally have been listening to her videos and so forth the last few days. But she mentioned something, and I thought about this. Her time about marketing and producing, and coming up with kind of that creative way of doing both. She
Mhm.
mentioned now she works with a lot of authors. She's an author. She writes a lot of books. She was talking about if you're writing, for instance, a novel, and you could have your main character write like a mini cookbook, maybe 10 favorite recipes, and have that be a lead magnet as a downloadable to subscribe to a newsletter. And we're coming back to, I know, Charles, you keep, emphasizing it's so important. I agree with you as far as that newsletter, that email list. But I'm kind of still percolating on what she said on this one, but it's a way to, bring it out in social media to say,
Oh yeah.
hey, we have this free recipe book for so-and-so, our main character, but it also connects them to the character and it gets them wanting to buy the book when the book comes out. So it's kind of this like pre-launch where similar to what we're talking about as far as you have to have this, and then you have a 50% off coupon, you're ready to buy it.
Hmm. Yeah, no, I think it's both, and it really is kind of engaging the people, before. And again, I mean, we're talking about stuff that's basically ones and zeros. We're not necessarily talking about something that's tangible. So to some degree, we have to try to make it tangible. And like the only way we can make it tangible is the engagement, right? And then, is the, I guess, the sense we leave with people that they really have talked to, or they really do know this human being, right? They really do know somebody that's behind the information. And I think that's part of the appeal, and it's part of one of the good things about social media, right? Depending on how fluid a person wants to be on their profile, which is, hey, I'm gonna let you see I'm gonna let you see everything, right? You can see it, right? Yeah. Or even if you just kind of be, right, I know people, and I probably tend toward this, right? I don't know if I should say this, but I have always looked at um, uh, some of this as a little bit like more of an office than I do super personal. So I when worked at a bank, um, I was personal with the people, but not personal to the point where they knew my personal business, if that makes sense.
So you're like
So,
personable, but not personal where
right,
they
hey, hey,
knew how many
here's
times
my
your
wife.
dog.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Here, we had our anniversary. Hey, here I am out with my wife. But not, like, well, we had a fight today, and it's like,
I hear
oh
you.
no, no, yeah,
Well, and I still struggle with that one as far I've become more maybe transparent is a word I keep hearing as far as be transparent, share. It's like how transparent do you really want to know? I mean, I'm thinking of some things popping through my head. Charles, you probably know what's popping through my head. It should not pop out my mouth on marketing momentum. I mean, there is just some information that I don't want to share. Nobody wants to hear it. Um, and I think that's the challenge is how transparent enough, because it seems to be this relationship building, engaging. You need to be transparent enough that people feel connected, but yet do we really need to share absolutely everything that we're thinking?
yeah. And I guess the flip side to everything is going to be, um, with all these things changing, because all these platforms now, they've got to figure out how to monetize, right? And so because of that, I mean, they can make a change, and they make the change based on their need to monetize, or the shareholders, or whatever the case is. And typically that sort of crimps the style of somebody who is using these tools as, or an organic sort of relationship building tool. And now that's not to say not to use them, but it is something that we've seen and talked about over the years. I mean, it will always happen that the tool's going to change because they need to monetize.
Yep. Yeah, we've seen. Wow, we could like list out a long list of as far as changes that are still happening even as we. Wow, I feel like throughout this whole, we started out talking about different approaches, or and that's like old school. That was like single digit 21st century, and it's like I feel like the thing that keeps popping up besides relationship engagement is this idea of balance. Whether it's balancing in the tools that we're using, balancing in the social networks that we're using. I mean, I feel like that could be our next topic is how to find balance. But we can do a whole series like from now until the end of the year as
Right.
far as balance in this area, balance in that area. maybe that's something, guys, if you're listening, watching, and you have questions, especially in the area of balance, be interested to hear what your questions are. I don't know what it's like. How many years have we been doing this? I didn't think of actually having people ask questions and we'll bring
Yeah.
that up. But maybe we'll work that in and have people ask us as far as specifically what area do you need balance? And no, we're not clinical psychologists. We're not here to necessarily give
Oh, you
relationship
are. You're
advice.
balance.
Yeah, no,
Yeah,
it's like,
yeah, I can say that. No, I know I'm not. Yeah.
although I told my husband, it's like, I can't because of the whole licensing thing, but he can go give like relationship advice because he's not licensed. No, that's a whole nother, that's two more, that's three more marketing amendments right there. Explain that one. But well, thank you, Charles. This has been very enlightening. Although I feel like my, not that my head's exploding in a good way, of course, in a good way, but all these different questions and things that we could be covering and even asking ourselves, are we covering this in our own business?
Yeah. No, I think that's good. No, thanks, Deb.
And I want to hear more about your conference. This sounds
Oh
really
yeah.
exciting.
Yeah.
That sounds good. So one of these weeks, tune in and Charles will share. What's the Oh, why is it? She has such a memorable name, and I can never.
Linda Hollander.
And what's the something? Not the bag.
Sponsorship. She calls herself the wealthy bag lady, and the conference was sponsorship secrets.
Okay, I was like, bag lady. That doesn't sound right. I'm thinking, what is that? Dick Van Dyke and the. Okay, wait. I'm going way back in Disney movies on Mary Poppins and. Okay, I think it's time for Deb to sign off on that one because we're going way, way back in the past. Thank you, Charles. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you in the next Marketing Momentum with Charles and Deborah.